Hello, and welcome back to the Resource Nexus podcast. Today we're diving into this year's college basketball coaching top 100, one of the most subjective rankings I do all year. As always, you can check out the resourcenexus.com in a few days for the full article. That'll include links to coaching records, histories, and all the good stuff if you want to dig a little deeper. But for this episode, we're keeping it focused. Here's the question I'm asking. If I were hiring for an average Power 5 basketball program, we're talking typical resources, decent history, fan support, and a middle-of-the-road NIL and revenue setup, who would I want leading the charge? One offseason, one season, who's building my roster from scratch and delivering results right now? This isn't about legacy. It's not about who makes the most money or who's coaching at some blue blood program. It's who do I trust most to walk into a mid-tier job where nothing's guaranteed and win. Let's kick it off with the top 10 coaches in college basketball. My rankings. And yeah, I said my rankings, so don't come crying in the comments if your favorite guy isn't number one. Let's get into it. Number one, Kelvin Sampson, Houston Cougars. The guy revived a dead program, one single auto bid NCAA tournament appearance in the 20 years before he got there. Since then, in the last 5 years, they've averaged a second-place finish on Ken Palm, 2 Final Fours, 2 Sweet 16s. It's probably the most plug-and-play physical system in the country. They recruit their type, they develop, and they just roll. What more can you say for a program that was in a ditch, now dominating the Big 12 a decade later? Number 2, Mark Few, Gonzaga Bulldogs. Built a national power basically from scratch. Gonzaga has averaged a 5th-place finish on Ken Palm over the last 9 seasons. And remember, this is not a blue blood. This is a mid-major. It's incredible, even if they've slipped a little recently. And when I say slipped, I mean down to 8th. Yeah, let that sink in. Number 3, Matt Painter, Purdue Boilermakers. Look, I've questioned some things, like playing Zach Edey only 19 minutes a game when he was putting up historic numbers. And yeah, the limited portal use has raised eyebrows, but the results are the results. Players stay to play for him, and that's underrated at a place like Purdue, which isn't exactly overflowing with resources. I like that he dipped into the portal a little more last season. Over the past decade, he's averaged a 13th place finish on Ken Palm, had the best team or one of the top 3 teams, and was in the national title game 2 years ago. Number 4, Bruce Pearl, Auburn Tigers. Won basically everywhere he's been, a D2 national title, took Milwaukee to the Sweet 16, and that wasn't a fluke either. They finished 36th and were 62nd and 51st the 2 years before that. But he's really thrived at Auburn. 2 Final Fours. That's as elite as it gets. Still going strong. Finished 4th each of the last 2 years, and 32nd and 12th the 2 years before that. Number 5, Todd Golden, Florida Gators. Off the court stuff aside, he's already a star. I don't think it's just a flash in the pan either. The way he uses analytics in the transfer portal, next level. Took San Francisco to 23rd on Ken Palm, which is no small feat. Oh, and he's a Bruce Pearl protege, which doesn't hurt either. Number 6, Dan Hurley, University of Connecticut Huskies. 2 national titles in 3 years. That could easily land him at number 2. But let's be real, last season was underwhelming, and the reliance on Aiden Mahaney, kind of puzzling. Could get more volatile without his top assistants too. You can't do anything more impressive than back-to-back titles and winning the way he did. But his next best finish is 21st. And that's in 13 years at some pretty decent jobs. I'm the best coach in the effing sport. Yeah, not in my opinion. As impressive as those 2 years were, his overall resume is kind of strange to quantify. And I do wonder how much credit should really go to his assistants, even if everyone seems to already give them plenty. Number 7, Nate Oates, Alabama Crimson Tide. I love the style, modern, fast, shoots the 3, tries to outscore everyone, and it's working. Turned Alabama into a premium job, finished 6th, 14th, and 4th the last 3 years. Final 4, Elite 8, Sweet 16, took Buffalo to a top 22 finish too. All really impressive stuff. Number 8, Scott Drew, Baylor Bears. I'm slipping him a little the last 2 years. Maybe with NIL, the water's just finding its level, but from a pure coaching standpoint, still one of the best. What he did taking over Baylor from where they were, that's nearly unmatched. But last year and this current roster, yeah, it gives me some pause. His Ken Palm finishes this decade 30, 15, 16, 4, 2, and 3. That's a killer run, no doubt. Number 9, Brian Dutcher, San Diego State Aztecs, helped build the program as an assistant. And once he took over, he leveled it up. NIL era seems to be catching up with him a little now. You know, they finished 51st last year, but before that, 22nd, 14th, 25th, 30th, and 6th. Oh, and he made a national title game. Number 10, Rick Barnes, Tennessee Volunteers. He runs a repeatable, rock-solid defensive system, and he's more consistent in the regular season than people give him credit for. The only real knock is the tournament results if you're looking at them in the aggregate, but let's be fair, and this is now 4 top 10 teams, and the last 3 have all finished in the top 6. That includes 2 Elite Eights. So, yeah, he belongs. Number 11, Rick Pitino, St. John's Red Storm. For 1 year, the experience and recruiting level he brought in, almost unmatched. I've always questioned whether you can fully maximize talent with his style, but hey, the guy wins, still a legend. 14th last year, and that's no fluke. Number 12, Chris Beard, Ole Miss Rebels. Say what you want about him personally, but as a coach, he's elite. Took Texas Tech to the national title game, and now he's got Ole Miss surging. At Texas Tech, his last 4 years went like this: 11th, 5th, 17th, and 21st. That's a run. Texas could have become a full-on powerhouse if he had stayed. Number 13, Randy Bennett, St. Mary's Gales. You just can't argue with the results. Took over a team that went 1-27 and has had them playing like a top 20 program for the last decade, in a high school gym basically. 25th, 20th, 13th, and 17th the last 4 years. The lack of NCAA wins holds him back a little. Just 3 over that same span. But man, the consistency is wild. Number 14, Will Wade, NC State Wolfpack. What he did at McNeese State, unreal. Took a program with a 300-plus budget and ranking into the top 60 and won a tournament game. That's coaching. He's had top 25 and top 30 teams at both VCU and LSU, and those aren't exactly top-tier programs either. Looks like he's got a top 25 team again this year at NC State, clearly one of the best doing it right now. Number 15, Greg McDermott, Creighton Blue Jays. 5 seasons finishing in the top 17, 2 of the last 3 in the top 12. Made a Sweet 16 run. He's been one of the best coaches in the country, no question. But it's also fair to say he's probably not doing it for too many more years. Number 16, Mark Pope, Kentucky Wildcats. Finished 16th last year at Kentucky and made a Sweet 16. But to me, what he did at BYU stands out more. Finished 18th, 20th, and 13th. 2 of those seasons were in the WCC. That's not easy. I think his transfer-heavy build is actually the smarter long-term strategy, especially when you compare it to places like Duke. Number 17, Brad Underwood, Illinois Fighting. At a place with Illinois' resources and history, you'd maybe expect a little more tourney success, but I will say this. The pivot to an international-heavy starting lineup filled with future Euro pros is creative, and it shows he's an adaptable guy. He's won everywhere he's been, across multiple levels and jobs, and yeah, even winning a game with a Southland team, that checks a box for me. Number 18, Grant McCasland, Texas Tech Red Raiders. This guy rose quick. JUCO, Conference USA, now the Big 12. And he's won everywhere, nearly made the Final Four last year. I want to see just a little more before I move him into that top tier. But he's well on his way. Number 19, John Shire, Duke Blue Devils. Let's be real, Duke is probably the best job in the country. It kind of recruits itself. So I still have questions about building around freshmen in today's game. But Shire's done everything right so far. You really can't have him lower than this, and honestly, if he took a different job tomorrow, like Wake Forest, let's say, he'd probably keep winning. That tells me something. Number 20, Tommy Lloyd, Arizona Wildcats. I was impressed last year. I didn't think Arizona would be that good. And they were. It's a good job, sure, but he's been solid all 4 years. And we know he was a huge part of what made Gonzaga so successful. 2, he's not flashy, but he wins. All right, let's round out the top 30 coaches in the game today. Some legends, some risers, and a few guys you're probably sleeping on. Number 21, TJ Otzelberger, Iowa State Cyclones. He's really found his identity at Iowa State, hit his stride. But if we're being honest, the earlier results at South Dakota State and UNLV don't hold up as well. It does leave you wondering a little, what would he look like at a different job? For now, though, he's got Iowa State cooking. Number 22, Dusty May, Michigan Wolverines. Yeah, he took a terrible program, FAU, to the Final Four and a top 17 finish. That's incredible. But then he brought everybody back and finished 47th. I don't think that got nearly enough attention. It's basically what Hubert Davis did. Made a championship game, missed the tournament the next year, and everyone ripped him. Dusty lost nobody major and still dropped 3 games to Bryant, Florida Gulf Coast, and Temple. That stuff sticks. That said, he's redeemed himself at Michigan. And yeah, he's a good coach. Just got to keep the whole picture in mind. Number 23, Ben McCollum, Iowa Hawkeyes. When you win 4 national titles in Division II in 5 seasons, you've earned your shot. And if COVID hadn't canceled the tournament when they were 31-1, that probably would have been 5. He's translated fast at Iowa with a new roster. He might end up being a top 10 coach in the country. But let's see how recruiting plays out long term. What we know now, great X and O guy. Great in-game manager. I'll be tracking him closely. Number 24, Bill Self, Kansas Jayhawks. Look, I know the resume is stacked, but in today's game, his roster builds feel outdated. Not enough three-point shooting, not much willingness to adapt. Even the guards he's bringing in don't feel like Kansas-level guys. The results are showing it too. Finishes of 24th, 27th, and another 27 back in 2021. 3 of the last 5 years in that mid-20s range. This new NIL and transfer era, he hasn't adjusted. Plus, there are real concerns around his health. This year's roster, probably another 25-ish finish. Number 25, Tom Izzo, Michigan State Spartans. They were 7th last year on KenPom, made an Elite 8. But let's be honest, that roster was the exception. He had been averaging 37th the 4 years before that. No shooting, not enough portal work. The game's kind of caught up with him. That Elite 8 run, it was the outlier, not the norm. Number 26, Chris Collins, Northwestern Wildcats. 3 straight top 45 finishes at Northwestern. That's legit. And if North Carolina ever opened up, I think he'd be on the board. Spent years in that area. Knows the landscape. He'd probably be open to coming back. Number 27, Dana Altman, Oregon Ducks. Multiple Sweet 16s, a Final Four. Finished 27th last year. He's been doing this for a long time and probably doesn't get the credit nationally. Even before Oregon, he was putting top 30 teams together at Creighton. Number 28, Leon Rice, Boise State Broncos. This guy is so underrated. In the new NIL era, he's averaged a 42nd place KenPom finish the last 4 years. That's at Boise, in Idaho, a place that had never won before he got there. In 15 years, only 2 finishes outside the top 100. That's absurd. The only knock, no tournament wins in 5 chances, but man, everything else is rock solid. At number 29, Chris Jans, Mississippi State Bulldogs. I question the style a little, not enough shooting, but the results, always right where you expect. In 9 years, he's basically never had a bad season. The only exception, that COVID year. Hard to hold that to much against him. Number 30, Shaka Smart, Marquette, Golden Eagles, 29th, 10th, and 13th the last 3 years. Took VCU to a Final Four. This year, it's make or break for him. If this doesn't hit, I think we've seen the ceiling. He refuses to recruit transfers, which drives me crazy. It's weird because the guy found an All American transfer once from George Mason, so he gets it. He just doesn't do it anymore. And I don't trust that. Let's close out the top 50. This is where things start getting interesting. A lot of coaches with upside, a lot of guys who've either had a fall or are stuck in that pretty good zone. Number 31, Greg Gard, Wisconsin Badgers. 17th and 12th the last 2 years. And this year's team looks top 20 again. If he had more NCAA wins, he'd be a lot higher. But I do think he's reinvented the offense a bit. Those wins might finally come. Number 32, Mick Cronin, UCLA Bruins. Yeah, it was just one bad year, but it was really bad. And he didn't exactly help and became kind of a distraction. That dropped him down a bit. Number 33, Kevin Young, BYU Cougars. Strong year one, really impressive recruiting early on, but there are still questions. How would he do at a middle-of-the-pack job with average resources? That's what I want to see next. Number 34, Eric Musselman, USC Trojans. Yes, he's slipped the last couple years, but let's not overreact. He still knows how to build a team. He owns the transfer portal like few others. Took Nevada to a Sweet 16, Arkansas to 2 Elite Eights. Most coaches, even the great ones, have a down year or two. I'd look past it. Number 35, Sean Miller, Texas Longhorns. Captain Elite Eight, 4 of them, one back in the A-10. But 12 years at Arizona, without a Final Four, that matters. He can keep you in the top 25 most years, and Texas gives him every opportunity to do that again. But championship upside, I don't see it. Only 2 of his teams have ever finished top 14 on KenPom. Number 36, Jamie Dixon, TCU Horned Frogs. Yeah, he's slipped a little, but let's not forget. 4 top 30 teams in 9 years. 6 in the top 45. And this is TCU we're talking about. Last year was 83rd. This year probably similar, but between here and Pitt, a lot of history, mostly good. Number 37, Fred Hoiberg, Nebraska Cornhuskers. Took a while, but he's figured it out. 30th and 46th the last 2 years. And don't forget what he did at Iowa State, doing it at Nebraska. That matters. He deserves credit. Number 38, Brad Brownell, Clemson Tigers. Went from hot seat to an Elite Eight and back-to-back top 25 finishes. 19th and 23rd. Lots of average years at Clemson, but he's had success before at UNCW and Wright State. Seems like he's thriving more in the NIL era. This one's more about the job than the coach. Number 39, Buzz Williams, Maryland Terrapins. He just wins. 18th last year on KenPom. 35th, 33rd, and 33rd before that. Took Virginia Tech to 13th. Borderline miraculous. That's probably his ceiling, though. Style-wise, there's a limit. Not enough shooting. You can only go so far with that. Number 40, Ross Hodge, West Virginia Mountaineers. Roster's a bit underwhelming, sure, but he's exceeded expectations before. Dominated at the junior college level, 83 and 17 at Paris JC, 63 and 7 at Midland with back-to-back national runner-ups. Strong associate track record, too. North Texas, Arkansas State. Honestly, West Virginia may have upgraded when they lost DeVries. Number 41, John Calipari, Arkansas Razorbacks. Look, he recruits at the highest level, but he mismanages rotations badly. The last 6 years, at 2 of the most resourced programs in the country, he's averaged a 28th place KenPom finish. That's flat out underachieving. If he were at a school with less, this would be way uglier. Number 42, Mark Byington, Vanderbilt Commodores. I like what he's building, but not playing Edwards or McLaughlin enough. Killed them. He underachieved, and it was his own fault. That said, the James Madison job was strong. He clearly knows how to spot talent. Just needs to manage it better. Number 43, Kevin Willard, Villanova Wildcats. 6 NCAA trips in 7 years at Seton Hall. That's legit. Top 10 at Maryland last year. Also legit. But that might be his peak. This Villanova roster is bad. Worse than anything Neptune had. And 2 years ago at Maryland, huge letdown. That still lingers. Number 44, Porter Moser, Oklahoma Sooners. Final Four at Loyola Chicago, another Sweet 16. Top 10 on KenPom. But at Oklahoma, averaging 42nd. That's fine. It's just a hard job in a tough league. Honestly, Kelvin Sampson kind of broke the curve there. They haven't matched that since. Number 45, Chris Mack, Charleston Cougars. Louisville made a big mistake firing him. One bad COVID year, 13-7, ranked 59th. Then a rough start next year, that's it. Before that, Elite 8, Sweet 16s, number 1 seed at Xavier. And he didn't lose a step in year 1 at Charleston. And number 46, Steve Forbes, Wake Forest Demon Deacons. He was a rising star. Finished 28th 2 years ago. But last year, 72nd? Not great. This year's roster? Also not great. There are questions now. Number 47, Andy Enfield, Southern Methodist University Mustangs. Parachuted into SMU, and it looks solid. USC was pretty steady until that final year. Made 3 NCAA tournaments and an Elite 8 in 4 seasons. Took FGCU to the Sweet 16 too. He's had his moments. Number 48, Richie McKay, Liberty Flames. 4 top 100 finishes in the last 6 years, including 48th and 64th recently. That's real success at Liberty. Good resources there, sure, but before he got there, their best season was ranked 166. He changed the trajectory. Number 49, Ryan Odom, Virginia Cavaliers. Everyone remembers UMBC, but that was his only real run there. 1 top 200 finish in 5 years. Since then, he's been at easy-to-win jobs, Utah State, VCU, and kept players like Shulga, who were already there. He's solid, but a lot of it is about the jobs and the timing. Number 50, Steve Alford, Nevada Wolfpack. Steady, but never elite. 78th last year. Probably something similar this year. There's some solid histories at stake and some wild swings. But for now, he holds on to a top 50 spot. That's 50. If you've made it this far, you're a true sicko like me. Number 51, Brian Hodgson, South Florida Bulls, a rising star, took over a team ranked 287 and jumped to 133 and then 84th 2 years later. This year's roster, probably the American favorite and very likely top 65. His teams made the CBI semis in 2024 and the NIT second round in 2025. Bottom line, he hasn't been bad yet, which already separates him from some guys in this range. Number 52, Darian DeVries, Indiana Hoosiers. Look, he did a good job at Drake, but I question how things would have gone without that early boost, the assistant who brought 4 JUCO guys and basically set him up. And having his son, a high-level recruit he probably doesn't land otherwise, for 4 years, yeah, that helped too. Indiana's current roster looks like the 40th best team for a budget that should be way higher. Honestly, Woodson's talent was better, even if it didn't fit. Still, DeVries is a solid hire, just not risk-free. Number 53, Richard Pitino, Xavier Musketeers. This Xavier team doesn't look great, but what he did at New Mexico, back-to-back top 41 and 29 seasons, found talent like J.T. Toppin and Dent. Even at Minnesota, his last 3 seasons were 46th, 27th, and 62nd, and he won a tourney game. That resume would get most guys an extension there now, not a pink slip. Number 54, Chris Holtmann, DePaul Blue Demons. I take Holtmann over the guy Ohio State replaced him with. No question, he's won at multiple schools. Even in his worst year at Ohio State, they still finished 49th in KenPom. That's your floor? You're a good coach. Took a 304th ranked DePaul to 122 in year 1. Won big at Butler, 3 straight top 30 seasons. 8th at Ohio State. Worst ever was still top 50. Never truly bottomed out. Number 55, Nico Medved, Minnesota Golden Gophers. Solid hire. At Colorado State, he hit top 45 in 3 of the last 4 seasons and won a tourney game. Nothing flashy, but you know what you're getting. A guy who builds competitive programs. Number 56, Jared Calhoun, Utah State Aggies. Dominated D2 with a 124 and 38 record. Took a team to the title game. Needed time at Youngstown State. But that place is tough. His portal work the last 2 years was impressive. First year at Utah State, 61st in Ken Palm NCAA berth. Success, number 57, Mike White, Georgia Bulldogs. Florida wasn't actually that bad. Elite 8, a top 5 finish. Sure, it dipped at the end, but now took Georgia to the NCAA tourney. He's earned some redemption. Number 58, Tad Boyle, Colorado Buffaloes. I don't know, maybe the budget's bad, but last year's build didn't impress. He was 24th and made the second round 2 years ago. 8th back in 2021. But that was the weird COVID year with no fans. Still, not awful, just not exciting lately. Number 59, Josh Schertz, St. Louis Billikens. Last season, uninspiring, but he had Indiana State at 38th before that, and his D2 resume is loaded. 3 Final Fours and a 337-69 record. Year 3 at Indiana State, NIT runner-up. He brought that team's star and point guard with him to St. Louis, and still only finished 121st. That knocks him down a bit. Number 60, Russell Turner, UC Irvine and Teeters. Talk about steady. In the last decade, he's never finished lower than 147, 6 top 100 seasons, 68th and 82nd the last 2. Might be the most consistent floor in America for the program he's at. Number 61, Eric Olin, New Mexico Lobos. Came from UC San Diego, where he coached from 2013 to 2025. Overall record, 240 and 119. Led their move from D2 to D1. Multiple postseason appearances. And in 2024, his team finished 39th in Ken Palm and went 30-5. That's a resume. Number 62, Danny Sprinkle, Washington Huskies. Won everywhere he's been. Completely rebuilt Utah State with 0 returning points. Won a tournament game. Got them into a 6-bid Mountain West. Only ranked 51st in Ken Palm, though. And at Montana State, he never cracked the top 100. Seems like the right tier for him, still. I like the roster build this year, even with a slow start last season. Number 63, Pat Kelsey, Louisville Cardinals. Before last season, he had just 1 top 100 Ken Palm finish in 13 years. 1. It was 71st, and he was at schools that had done better before him. I don't think he plays his best guys enough. Last year, injuries forced his hand, and his top 3 finally played 32 to 35 minutes. Most years, it's 22 to 25. So the question is, did he learn or will he revert? Number 64, Chris Gerlufsen, San Francisco Dons. Kept Todd Golden's momentum going, which is no small feat. San Fran wasn't winning like this in the modern era before those two. Credit for maintaining the culture. Number 65, Bucky McMillan, Texas A and M Aggies. I'm not a fan of how he plays. Too many guys, too few minutes for the best players. That minimizing style just doesn't work for me, but strong results. And he's recruited well, fast, and hard to Texas A&M, so we'll see. Number 66, Anthony Grant, Dayton Flyers. Yeah, he's got resources at Dayton. Yeah, the seat is warming. But 2 years ago. 32nd and a second-round appearance. Don't forget the what-if top 5 season in 2020. This program's been solid under him. Never totally bottomed out since year 1. Number 67, James Jones, Yale Bulldogs. They've been 74th, 90th, and 65th the last 3 years. 2 NCAA appearances. Upset a top 4 Auburn team. He's the 3rd longest tenured coach at one school, and in the last 11 years, 6 top 100 finishes. Clear moment where he figured things out, and Yale got serious. This year's group, probably top 100 again. Number 68, Brian Wardle, Bradley Braves. Last 4 years, 92, 64, 90, and 96. Solid. 2 top 75 finishes at Green Bay before this. Just a reliable mid-major coach. Number 69, Lamont Paris, South Carolina Gamecocks. 54th and 69th at South Carolina, 67th at Chattanooga in 2022. It's a tough place to win, but I think he's a good coach in a brutal conference. Number 70, Mike Rhodes, Penn State, Nittany Lions. Did you know Penn State finished 58th last year, 77th in year one? That's impressive for a school that usually lives way lower. At VCU, he was consistently between 40 and 60. Not flashy, but plenty of evidence he's a solid coach. Number 71, Tony Skinn, George Mason Patriots. Honestly, I don't know exactly how good Skinn is, but in 2 years, he's posted 97th and 79th finishes for a program that hadn't cracked the top 100 since Laranaga in 2011. That's a decent jump. Teams he's built and his portal recruiting mostly makes sense. So, yeah, I'm intrigued. Number 72, Thad Matta, Butler Bulldogs. Everyone seems to think Matta's struggling, but finishing 75th and 61st the last 2 years at a lower resource place like Butler, that seems solid enough. No, he's not Brad Stevens level wizardry, but given where Butler was under Jordan, this feels like a respectable recovery. Number 73, Ben Howlett, IU Indy Jaguars. This one's interesting. He went 217 and 37. That's in .854 winning percentage over 8 years in D2, including a national runner-up to his mentor, 2 other Elite Eights, and a Sweet 16. He runs a system that averages around 100 points per game, something you haven't really seen since VMY more than 15 years ago. It may or may not work at the Division I level, but honestly, I'd rather take a chance on this resume than many coaches who've already flopped. IU Indy took what thing was a gamble hiring him, and I love it. I think it's one of the best hires this cycle. I'm not expecting miracles this year. He was hired late May, but it's a hire with Number 74, Fran McCaffrey, Penn Quakers. Yeah, McCaffrey didn't retire and probably has some gas left in the tank. Iowa might have upgraded, but it wasn't that long ago. He had finishes of 23rd, 7th, and 13th in the 2000s, 20s, plus a recent National Player of the Year. Sure, they were 62nd last year, and defense isn't their strong suit, but overall results at a place like Iowa, not bad at all. Number 75, Wes Miller, Cincinnati Bearcats. His results aren't catastrophic. 55th, 39th, and 50th the last few years, plus multiple top 100 finishes at UNCG. The frustration? Style. Or maybe a lack of adaptability. For a Rudy shooter, you'd think he'd give some three-point specialists a shot and try to find more shooting. It's a fair gripe. Number 76, Kyle Smith, Stanford Cardinal. It took 14 seasons to reach the NCAA tournament, but they won a game. Factor in he's coached at some tough-to-win programs. He won a CIT championship at Columbia and took Washington State to the NIT Final Four. I like that he's had solid teams at 3 different schools, including San Francisco, which finished top 70, but 81st last year with a player like Renault. That was disappointing. Number 77, Dennis Gates, Missouri Tigers. Never really impressive at Cleveland State. A 169th ranked 15 seed was his best year, and 197th before that. Things started okay at Missouri, but then came the 0-18 year. He did rebound last year, finishing 19th and making the NCAA tournament before losing. Overall, I don't fully trust him. He's a decent recruiter at times, but rotations are a mess. Best players play less than 28 minutes a game. You pay guys like Mitchell, so not playing them, ridiculous. Grill was one of the best bench players nationally last year by multiple advanced metrics. That's a fail. Still, 19th place is something, but what do you do with that, even if it's a fluke? Number 78, Bryce Drew, Grand Canyon Antelopes. Drew underachieved last year, a 55th preseason Ken Pom rank, finishing 101. The year before was good at 52, but what most don't consider is the resources at Grand Canyon. Top 80 budget with over 100,000 students at massive advantages over their competition. I don't think he shot par last year given that the shine isn't what it used to be. Number 79, Mike DeGeorge, California Polytechnic State University Mustangs. Lots of Division II success. Took a team that most thought would finish 345th, not here. They were our top sleeper, finishing 182nd in year one. Number 80, John Becker, Vermont Catamounts. Last year's 242nd finish? Terrible. But no NIL to work with, and the program he's built over 14 years, including 6 top 76 finishes and no worse than 151st before last year, it makes me mostly ignore that blip until it becomes a trend. He'd be much higher on the list if NIL or whatever didn't catch up last season. I think college basketball rankings follow a logarithmic scale or power law distribution. There's really never a good excuse to be 240th. Number 81. Johnny Dawkins, University of Central Florida Knights. People say Dawkins is on the hot seat, but what do they expect? Taking UCF into the Big 12 isn't a walk in the park. He's finished 67th, 66th, and 56th the last 3 years. That's about as good as you can expect. Number 82, Hubert Davis, North Carolina Tar Heels. I defended Hubert until last year's misuse of Lubin. Even with that, a 31st finish isn't fireable yet. What he's recruited this year, reportedly a $14 million roster, looks to be in the same range and certainly will be if that's what he ends up with. Before last year, he took a team to the championship game, 1/2 from winning, and had a 9th place, 1 seed, Sweet 16. Just 2 years ago, people forget Roy Williams wasn't killing it at the end, but did leave some good players. This is now Hubert with his own players, so we'll see what it looks like. It's really hard to coach a team out the championship and be that bad. Number 83, Jeff Capel III, Pittsburgh Panthers. I don't think Capel is very good, but he's been decent the last 3 years. 63rd, 33rd, and 59th. You can't really fire him, but he's paid like a top 20 coach. Ridiculous. There was never anything in his resume to suggest he was that. Number 84, Herb Sendek, Santa Clara Broncos, 59th last year, 109th, 85th, and 76th the last 4 years, playing in something close to a high school arena. He seems to have found his way. Is he great? Number. But he's clearly raised the floor here. Just took a while. Number 85, Jerome Tang, Kansas State Wildcats. Started hot, but the teams feel more like overpaying for whatever island of misfit toys are left that he can afford. Number 86, Bob Ritchie, Furman Paladins. Ritchie was crushing it for years, but now with the money game getting crazy, he's really slipped. His last 2 seasons, 141st and 139th. Before that, his worst season in 6 years was 92nd. Gone are the days of keeping players for 4 years. And until recently, he wasn't big on using the transfer portal or adapting. That's a problem in today's landscape, good coach. But he really needs to make a move, adapt, and embrace the portal. Number 87, Dave Smart, Pacific Tigers. I don't even know what last year was. This job is brutal, I guess, but I'm still a believer in his coaching and his recruiting. The way his Canadian teams didn't just beat, but dominated more than a dozen NCAA tournament teams or top 100 squads, including multiple top 10 teams with unimpressive Division I transfers and Canadian talent, that's hard to unsee. Some of his best players at Carleton were guys who had averaged like 4 points a game at places like Cleveland State and Loyola Marymount, and yet he had them out there dismantling high major programs. I'm sticking with him for at least another year. Number 88, Eric Henderson, Drake Bulldogs. Henderson led the Jackrabbits to multiple Summit League titles and NCAA appearances. His standout season was 2022 when South Dakota State went 35, reached the round of 64, and finished 81st in KenPom. They also made the tournament in 2021, 2023, and 2024. He recruited talent like Baylor Shireman, which was impressive. But in 6 years, his teams only cracked the KenPom top 110 once. That 80-ranked season with Shireman. Solid coach, but can he build a truly competitive team? Getting to Des Moines should be easier. Number 89, Andy Kennedy, UAB Blazers. He would have been higher a few years ago when he was killing it with the portal relative to his level. Now, with the money race heating up, portal classes have dried up. The last 2 years, with Yaxel Lindeborg, have left a lot to be desired. The results are still respectable, but this year might knock him off the list. At number 90, Ray Harper, Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Harper finished 108th last year at Jacksonville State, a school with barely any resources. He also has a 110th finish. Most don't know he was a two-time Division II champion and runner-up 4 times, plus 2 NAIA national titles and another runner-up in 3 years. It's no accident he takes a place like Jacksonville State to near the top 100. Number 91, Steve Lutz, Oklahoma State Cowboys. 3 years, 2 teams, 3 NCAA tournaments. That's impressive, even if these weren't high-ranking teams. His Ken Palm finishes were 245th, 176th, and 135th. Still relatively unknown. Follow that with 97th in year 1 at Oklahoma State, and this roster doesn't look much better. Number 92, Mitch Henderson, Princeton Tigers. Things were going great until last year's 177th finish with 2 star players back. Before that, he had finishes of 107th, 91st, and 69th, and including a Sweet 16. Seems like he let go of the rope last year. Solid overall, but it raises questions, especially with a Player of the Year and a key portal recruit now at the defending champs. Number 93, Drew Valentine, Loyola Chicago Ramblers. I don't know what the 253rd finish was 3 years ago, but he's bounced back to respectability. 93rd and 107th the last 2 years, and had a 29th finish in between. The roster looks top 100 again this year. Number 94, John Gross, Akron Zips. Gross doesn't have a high peak at Akron, but he's super consistent. The last 7 years, he's ranged between 82 and 122 in Ken Palm. Didn't go well at Illinois, but he did take Ohio to a Sweet 16 before that. Number 95, Shaheen Holloway, Seton Hall Pirates, Elite 8, with a Metro Atlantic team as a 15 seed is nuts. But despite financial troubles last year, there's no excuse for a 204th ranked team. Number 96, Penny Hardaway, Memphis Tigers. For the resources, it's hard to feel great about a 54th ranked finish, but it was a 5 seed and ranked in the AP top 25. Still, he seems to find players and do just enough to keep the mob at bay. Number 97, Matt McMahon, LSU Tigers. His star has faded, but it wasn't that long ago he was winning NCAA games multiple years at Murray State and finishing between 36th and 51st. The last 2 years he's back at 95th and 88th, but it feels like he's on the hot seat at a place with a decent history. Number 98, Scott Cross, Troy Trojans, poster child for dumb firings, made the NCAA tournament and had a 95th ranked team last year. Number 99, Mark Schmidt, St. Bonaventure Bonnies. He's really helped St. Bonnie be a solid program. Not great, but a reliable top 100 type for years now. Number 100, Jai Lucas, Miami Hurricanes. Don't know if he can coach, but I was impressed with the talent he brought in. Maybe a wonky fit, but he took good players, and that's a good sign. Would he get players at Miami, Ohio? Probably no, but they all have warts in this range. That's coming from someone who didn't like the hire at all, but the roster has my attention and should be top 45. If he fails, he's out quick. Brian Earl, Dan Earl, and Andy Bronkema, and a few others who were right on the fringe. These guys didn't quite crack the top 100 this time, but they were definitely in the conversation or guys I have been impressed with. Takayo Siddle, Matt Langle, Zach Chu, Austin Claunch. I could go on. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you got some good insights. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who'd find it useful. And don't forget to check out theresourcenexus.com for more in-depth analysis. Until next time, check you later.
Cool. Guess we'll see you around.
All right, check you later.